Oh, hello. I lied about Fort Worth at the end of my stream last night, and we are going to start with Dallas again today. Keep it going. I got inspired looking at our map yesterday, and I've kind of figured out I want to add a couple stations to our red line up towards Las Colinas, and where Green Line ends on the west side, currently in what we're calling Trinity Bend right here, I'm going to charge through up here at Las Colinas. We're going to cross through here, and there's a lot of really good residents up here in this area that are looking to commute to DFW Airport. So I think getting a lot of these folks into DFW Airport will be hopefully unlocked by doing that. Again, we are playing sandbox mode. No money constraints here, just a lot of fun, and our goal is to at least get, I think right now, 5% of our folks in DFW taking transit to their jobs, or to their friends, or any sort of place that they might want to go. Obviously, once we get that 5%, I'm going to keep building a little bit higher, see how high we can get that for this massively decentralized population here in DFW. It's a place I used to live, the place I'm born and raised in. I know it well. So this has been a really fun map. I'd say that this level is different from some of the other ones I've seen people streaming or playing on, online, just because of how, this isn't New York, this isn't Chicago. There aren't, people massively kind of huddled. There aren't these, huge population bubbles we see in others. So, now that I've kind of got this resident bubble map laid over the DFW area, you can kind of see where I'm really kind of seeing this green line going. Again, there's a lot of residents here, but the great thing about this Las Colinas area around this little lake is how many jobs there are there too. And while we have this red line station where people are kind of able to walk, I think a secondary station there with the green line at that south end of Las Colinas connecting up to our red line, and then really kind of following this line of residents up here. I think what I'll eventually do is make it past Lake Louisville and up here to the University of North Texas. That's this job center here in Denton. Maybe even downtown Denton around the square as well. I see some jobs north of there. So, the DCTA, Denton County Transit Authority, I think is what that train's called, that connects kind of this. Our green line will be following roughly the spirit of that IRL pathway. I don't think we're going to kind of cut over as far as the existing DCTA does to connect to the IRL green line. I think that connects right around here somewhere up this corridor. You can see these kind of like residents. Ours will really kind of follow this residential corridor. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm looking at doing today. I'm pretty excited. Let us get started on this. So what I actually need to do first is shut down my red line for a couple of stops. I think I might get away with cutting it off here at Love Field. Let's see if there's a connector, which I don't think there is. So let me just go ahead and build that first. Cross over here. Even though we are in sandbox mode, this is a $15 million crossover. So we're going to get that built. Phenomenal. Once we kind of cut off the red line after Love Field, we can really kind of edit in here. Again, I'm going to just add one station here, I think right here along Beltline Road. After I logged off last night, I saw that there were a bunch of residents, also kind of in this area, I think I'd mentioned that a little bit earlier, who mostly work at DFW. And so I think if I'm building at least something here, we can get a lot more of these people kind of pulled in. And then as our new green line kind of pops up, we can try to drag some more closer to the west and kind of Beltline Road, which I believe is this. Yeah. Getting them walked over, and then some of these people more towards the east locked in as well. So with that, we'll be editing our red line routes removing DFW for the time being, of which we are in this quad station. Yeah, the next line from 4th that comes in is going to use those outside north and southbound, and I'll just do a little cap connection right there at the end. So we have that station removed for the time being. We're going to remove Las Colinas for the time being. And with that new crossover, there's already a crossover. $15 million wasted, but it is what it is. We'll confirm these changes, let this play out, let some of those trains get off of our tracks before we start building. And it looks like those have all passed. So we'll hit pause, jump into our builder editor, and get started with, I think it's just this one station here for the time being. We might want to add more in the future. Let's take a look at these demand stats, get those pinned here so we don't keep jumping back and forth. And we're going to be working on deleting some tracks. So, looking at deleting right around here. I think this will be good if we're looking at jobs too. Not that many jobs, but again, decent amount of residents. We'll get a station built in right there. And I do not recall how deep we went over here with our stations, but I'm hoping -4 meters will suffice. As far as our connecting, nothing's too steep. That's great to see there. I think the existing Beltline road station's down here. Kind of out of the way. We're not seeing a lot of residents there. Every time I've gone on that real life Orange Line station, pretty deserted, pretty empty, but there's just not a lot of walkability to stations like that. In our fantasy system we're building here in sandbox mode, everything currently, if I recall correctly, is a subway tunneling underneath freeways. And in my mind, they're building incredible dense urban infrastructure around all of this. So our $160 million brand new Beltline Road station we will build. I know we forgot to build a couple times yesterday. That caused us some headaches as we were expanding some lines. So before I make that connection, I will rename this. And are we calling these Beltline Road or simply Beltline Station? What did we do? Beltline Road, that's what I thought. And we will come in, red line, edit these routes, and make some additions here. The red line doesn't really have much to do, this new Beltline Road station doesn't have much to do with my green line expansion, but what it does do is allow, again, just some of these residents here. Just one of the things I saw last night after I finished my stream, wanted to get that added in, and we can confirm these changes. Let's make sure these trains and frequencies are looking right to me. I'm selfish. I want 2-minute high demand frequency out of DFW. I want to get on that platform and immediately get to on a train. Lord knows it's hot. Waiting outside for a train in the summer in DFW. So, okay, I believe edit. We've got that confirmed. Let's see, this is, I think, what we were getting into last night, where we were confirming the changes before we were skipping to another menu. So this looks right. Great. We can confirm these. And there we go with our red line. Perfect. You know, one of the other things I saw that was fixed yesterday but somehow got unfixed is these two stations now are not grouped anymore. What I might do towards the end of the stream, not right now because I don't want to go through with it, is migrating this green line station a bit north, so it really is more of a formal cross, kind of like this. I think that's what really kind of secures the station grouping connection, or if it's kind of teed off like this, which, you know, it looks like it's teed off over here. I don't know why this one isn't sticking as a more formal station connection and kind of showing stats as one station grouping versus two separate, but that's where we are. That's where we've landed. Let's see if, you know, we can get that fixed another time. What, again, I really got ambitious about is just kind of seeing this green line jet out. So again, I don't think we're going to go all the way out to University of North Texas today, but I do kind of want to get the base of it set up through here, up on our way there. I might end it around here, let that go for the time being. Then we'll see if I want to hit up our station grouping connections. I also know that notice this one down here also didn't do a proper station connection. I might migrate this Davis station a bit more to the east. Hopefully that stabilizes what we thought we fixed yesterday. That's a little annoying that it's not keeping those groupings, but I've already seen some great success. You know, some fully converted blue dots, meaning our folks are now taking transit. You can see that down here. And some more purples down in the area too. So with that, I think we can, well, let's get a look, because I let this run a little bit last night, at what our station ridership is looking like. Our downtown kind of hub is really bubbled up at 33,000. This new connection here at Dealey Plaza is up to 10. You know, when we look at job hubs, there is this massive job bubble here, which, as we're kind of like looking across the city, you know, we are seeing people walk and commute to here. But I'm really surprised that this station is not much busier than it is. I'm wondering if our gold somehow cuts through here, even though I kind of want it to take, you know, kind of like this Houston bridge and follow kind of Zang downwards all the way through here. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do with that, to really get a lot more of those people at that job taking the transit that we have. You know, similarly here, this isn't as red as it used to be. You can kind of see that tonal shift in colors there, meaning more and more people are taking transit. You know, if you click on it, we can see the specifics of, well, typically we can. Oh, that's telling us that they are taking rides, which, yes, we know that. So we've got 10% of these people taking transit. That's pretty good to see. You know, again, would like to see more of the region looking like that. But let's move on with our Green Line expansion, of which the way I think I want to get out there probably makes sense to follow these freeways for a little bit, of which I think we've kind of teed ourselves up into destroying one of these buildings, which I really do not want to do. Let's figure out tracks a little bit later, but I know for sure that I want to build a station towards the southern end. So again, don't want to mess up any buildings. I think if we kind of follow underneath the freeway, cut in through here, we can build something right here on Las Colinas Boulevard. I don't think that's a good distance. Something south and then connecting right up, and then people can kind of make their own way around the lake if they want to take the trains and commute. So here, you know what? I don't like the angle there. We're going to be kind of coming up at a weird curve. It's going to be pretty tight. I'm thinking something closer to this probably makes the most sense. Scooch as close to that building as we can. And then I forget exactly what that lake is called. I think it's Lake Carolyn? Is that correct? Let me look this up. Make sure we name this station correctly. Lake Carolyn. That is how Perfect. Back to build. Stations. And then we're going to have a connector up here. It looks like we were okay at -4 here. I guess we must have buried this red line at -8. Knowing stations and tracks need to be at least 4 meters apart from each other to be built on top of one another. So we've got a secondary station there, good connection transfer point. Gonna kind of follow up this curve. I think we might pop over to this road, whatever that is. Caldwell. Oh, we're looking at jobs, that's why. I thought that looked a bit odd. Okay, so from Las Colinas, I don't know if there are really big jobs here. Maybe we build a station, Royal Lane. We're gonna make it kind of curved because this is really sharp. From Royal, again, we're really going to try to kind of follow this residential hub around here. Let's do... maybe we go deep with it. Cut under... build something here. What kind of jobs? Not as many jobs, but do have a good amount of residents here. Let's see if we can pull in some of these people. This is going to get a little insane. Oh yeah, I said we want to go deep with this. Surely I won't be... oh, I am still running. So let's go. The glory of sandbox mode. There we go. Don't have to worry about any of these people anymore. And then we will follow this road up. To... how far apart do I want these? Something here might make sense, but these bigger bubbles up here. We're going to do one here. Do we split the difference? Let's do it here. And you know what? I don't think we need to be that deep anymore. Let's go back to 4. I know we're not really doing costs here, but let's try to play with some constraints. Maybe. Couple stations there. I think maybe for the time being, I might be done with this. It gets a little crooked and weird, but you know what? Crooked and weird is how these suburbs get up here anyway, and roads. So I think I'm happy with that. We've got a clear trajectory on kind of where we're going. Might need to go deeper again with some of these stations to cut through some of these homes. I don't want really kind of slow connections for all the way out here. But that's for later us to worry about. So let's start connecting some of these stations actually and getting this. Hopefully not destroying any of these buildings here. So let's see what this is going to look like. How can we? You know what? It's just going to be kind of slow there. And that's okay because it's right when it leaves the station. Why are we at these weird curves? Okay, you know what? These got weird. I'm redoing some of that. You know what? Sure. That's going to be entirely too sharp. Why don't I go like this? Speed is the name of the game out here for what I'm trying to do. There we go. Little ugly, but that'll do. You know, after the good people of Las Colinas lost their monorail, that kind of followed the path that I'm actually kind of building right now. I think it was a little bit slightly to the west, but they deserve some good rail connections. Yes, the orange line comes through here, but this heavy rail I think will be a big improvement on the light rail that's currently there in real life. And I say the good people of Las Colinas, but they're not really taking a lot of transit. Okay, here's where we go. I think, were we 12 under? How are you? Why? No, that's where we went under. Okay, so that we don't even need. This, we're still following the weird curve of the roads. Gotta take that real close to those buildings and see what kind of S curve we can do around here. Okay. Delete some of this because that's entirely too curved. I think we lost the plot on where we were going there. Can we get some sort of auto connection? You know what? I'll take that. Here is where we're going deep. How is that building? Well, then we're just getting it right next to the foundation. Actually, if I delete this, I think I can improve that curve and just DIY. Yeah, I'll take it, I guess. And following along some of these curves, I think we've just got one more station to connect up here. I'm gonna need some help renaming some of these stations because I don't really know what the major roadways are, what takes precedent as far as what's more important up here, and I don't think we did anything further north than that. No. As always, build our crossover. Rock and roll. Let's see what this green line, 1.5 billion. As always, don't care. We're playing in sandbox mode. We have no budget constraints, which is pretty fantastic. Just think of the investment for the city. Valley Ranch Parkway. Isn't this also Valley Ranch Parkway? See, this is... That's wild. Why would... Valley Ranch Parkway west, south. Maybe Valley Ranch south, Valley Ranch north. That's what I'm going to do. I don't really know what this situation, I don't know if this is a one big development. I don't know. Kinwest or Valley View Lane. Let's keep with Valley View Lane. That looks... Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that that's PGBT? That's a freeway. We could say MacArthur, but it follows MacArthur all the way up, so that doesn't make as much sense. Maybe PGBT / MacArthur? What do we call President George Bush Tollway over here, which it's this one. Oh, we don't. It's just City Line. Do I want to name a station after a freeway? Probably shouldn't. But I feel compelled to. We could also call it, what is this, Kinwest? How far does she go? She dead ends right over there. Well, you know, for all these good people of Kinwest, they might just win. All right. This is a decent amount of new stations for our green line. I know I'm definitely going to have to... Everything is built. That's something we kept running into yesterday because I am silly and forgot, but definitely going to have to add a bunch of trains to what we have here. But let's go to the end of this route. As always, connect one of them, make sure everything's built with the right kind of connections. If so, we'll see that green populate all the way through, and we have it. So we can start adding all of these stations, and again, we will hit confirm changes before doing anything else and clicking out. That tripped us up a couple times yesterday as we were doing these steps with building out stations. Menus got weird, and I had to kind of keep clicking in and out. It was odd. We'll also need to rename this station. Make sure we've got that as a station grouping. Redoing all these station groupings has actually been really annoying. I think, did we forget? Yeah, we want both of these, north and southbound. Yeah, redoing all these station groupings has just been annoying when I'm trying to build out this system and kind of having to get bogged down with, you know, I mean, we kind of saw that a little bit. You know, you kind of have to edit, close the station, all of that. So let's not do that. Okay, an hour to get from there to here. That's actually not the best. But if you consider it takes about an hour to get from downtown to DFW Airport on the existing orange line, an hour here going down and up, that's pretty good. Now we're going to confirm those changes, like we said. Make sure we're not forgetting that. Then we're going to look at these trains as well and up this frequency. We would like at least a little bit more. Okay, well then we'll buy more train cars. I like at least 6-minute frequency. Some of these main lines, like I want people riding these trains. We'll just do 5. Can we get to 6-minute? No. 7-minute. We'll do 14. And low, that should be closer to 20. No, 20. Because then I'm thinking, you know, the bars around here, late at night, 20-minute frequency, that's not terrible. Some of these other folks, yeah, we'll do 20 minutes. This is going to be a robust and strong station. All right, so let's now... I am liking this. Let's X that out, take a look at this new map. What we have going on, we have our brand new red line station. We can see this white dot, which means it's perfectly categorized as a station grouping. Oh yeah, what we do need to do is rename this as Las Colinas. Which, in real life, this station's slightly over here, but it's called Irving Convention Center for this building. But I'm not going to do that. We're just going to simply call it Las Colinas, even though that's a part of this too. This will be Lake Carolyn. We'll imagine this really kind of a water lake themed subway station in terms of decorations and maybe some new buildings they put on top of it in our fantasy system. So let's get this running. See what kind of changes we have to these new stations. I imagine we'll get a lot of these people up here, and especially this station, built for a lot of these residents who are going into DFW Airport to work. I saw last night after we logged out. Would love to see this number really grow and that to be a much bigger hub. Again, I think that'll really happen as well once we get this Fort Worth connection built out to the west. And, you know, already the fruits of our labor last night, you know, these Addison stations up here are really just seeing a bigger boost in ridership overall. And where this, you know, kind of new gold line we built touches some of the others, really huge ridership on the system overall. We haven't had anything else break 5 digits, quite like our Dallas Main, where almost every line connects in, but this Dealey Plaza is really close to it at 9,500. I would like to see, I think, a little bit more downtown kind of connections. I don't know if that means I make a loop or some sort of light rail shuttle system. I was thinking around, kind of this Griffin U-shaped road here with Pearl, how that kind of comes in and going pretty far through South Dallas, maybe even into the Cedars area, having some sort of like light rail loop, but it doesn't really intersect with a lot of our existing stations. One of the other things I thought about, kind of seeing the success of some of these transfer stations out here, and I mean, even this transfer center right here, some people who might live here and work over here, if there was some sort of east-west shuttle across these, 4 lines, almost kind of like how, like, coloring it dark gray, almost like the New York shuttle between Penn Station and Times Square, just calling it shuttle, and having it go through, which would mean I would add a station here, I think on our gold, because why leave them out, but, naming it Katy Trail, link up to there, and get some sort of shuttle east-west there, but I'm not entirely sure that that's needed. Might be something to add way further down the road, but some of the things I'm kind of fantasizing and thinking about. Another corridor, which I have always imagined in real life, with what's built under here in West Village, with the existing red, orange, blue, is there's an offshoot here, and I was always thinking like, yeah, shouldn't something go under, ride right up Lemon Avenue, kind of cut over and come into Love Field, but we've kind of got that a little bit more on the Cedar Springs side versus Lemon in this map. So I think just some interesting ways in which I've looked at the existing city, but I'm based on the census tracts, I thought the Cedar Springs Road made a lot more sense than up on Lemon, where it just gets a little bit thinner once you're up here in Highland Park with anyone potentially coming in to take transit. But we are pleasantly over 1.5 now. I think we've basically increased this 1 full percentage point in the past 24 hours since yesterday's stream. So really excited to see that. Another area that's really not getting served is all of this kind of Bachman Lake just north of Love Field. A red line station right here on Harry Hines could be kind of interesting to get some of these folks in. We could consider that, or even here. That is something we might want to look at, or even if something follows this road here. Don't know what this is. Webb Chapel. So if something kind of followed Webb Chapel, talking about missing middle, we're really serving a lot of this area, but nothing here. So if it followed north-south Webb Chapel, kind of came in, cut through this not existing currently red line station, but then cut down into our Trinity Bend hub that we've got. Again, ridership there has been really strong, and when you look at some of these jobs up here, we could even have a Bachman Lake, something in the middle, and then Trinity Bend, maybe just connecting right there into Trinity Bend, but that could be something interesting as it, I don't know where we would go after that. It could just originate there, could be kind of a weird one-off line, or it could, yeah, honestly, it could just end there. There's nothing wrong with that. Once people get here, if they're coming all the way down for a job center at the medical center, they can just hop on that green line. If they're going all the way downtown, they can kind of transfer here. Or if they're going anywhere else, I kind of like that. So maybe that's something to consider. Looking back at residents, really kind of serving a lot of these folks here. That's going to be a pretty huge, again, kind of missing middle right now. That's just not served by some of these other lines we have kind of weaving up other pathways. Upwards, so food for thought and good consideration. Gonna take, let's just look at jobs. It makes it a little bit less clustered. I'm actually pretty happy with this. What I am thinking is also adding a light rail system here. Yes, it actually exists in the real DFW airport, but I don't know if this game really kind of accounts for the skyway at the mall. Or at DFW airport. But I fear some of these people may not be taking transit because it's too far from the station. Yeah, that's a long way to walk, but if you go into one of these terminals, you can quickly take the train down there. I think that might make more sense versus building like an A, B terminal, C, D, E, and future F station on ours up here. I don't know if that's going to serve us the way we really need it to. But maybe that does make sense if we quad track it, kind of keep it going. Might see increased ridership. And let's take a look at these residents here. This is exactly what I wanted to see. A lot more of this purple, blue color coming in, converting a lot of these folks into transit takers. They're not going far, but yeah, we've got more than half now taking trains. They also live right by the station. But this is great to see. Who are these people taking transit? Oh wow, that's a commute. But I would say better than driving. So as we were also talking about yesterday, it might really make sense, again, kind of build some sort of outer ring here, close to kind of what's existing IRL with the Silver Line to connect a lot of these stations we have. We're also going to have a lot of light rail east-west on these major roads where there's kind of stations across all of them. Think Royal Lane, Forest Lane, Beltline Road. I know there's a station on almost all of these lines for some of those major thoroughfares. We'll have some really good light rail connecting those east-west. But I think a heavy rail up top somewhere further north up here would make sense, or maybe even closer down towards like 635, where that is currently existing, just so people aren't going so far down to have to transfer back up. Could potentially convert a bit more, especially as this line continues to go up. These people may not want to go all the way down and all the way back up. What is this warning up here? Capacity issue, one train at or near capacity. Okay, so this green line is popping off. That is great to see. We can see a lot more residents here converting to this blue. Let's go ahead and take a look at station ridership and see what this is looking like. We've broken 5 digits down here with our Dealey Plaza station. Some of these others are really growing too. That's pretty phenomenal. I'm quite proud of this. Yeah, that's great. Okay. I'm going to hit pause on this for the time being. And I really want to fix those station groupings. But I also do not want to fix those station groupings. That's annoying work I might do off stream to spare y'all. I think you've seen a couple of these station groupings the past few days. Also as I was looking yesterday, I might want to come back in and reconsider adding some new blue line stations throughout this. So that could be something I potentially do offline as well. Just seeing some more kind of resident clusters I may have missed, or just potential opportunities for some of these east-west connectors like Beltline Road, building something there. If we look at some of the jobs, that could be a really great area to get more kind of some of these missing middle, because I don't think this is enough to get a new streetcar or a new heavy rail north-south, but a light rail east-west could really bring a lot of these people in to some of these other lined hubs that we have. But really good progress so far. Again, right now for North Dallas, I do want to give love to South Dallas and Oak Cliff, but the way that this game is set up and the percentages we're trying to hit, I think it kind of makes sense just to kind of continue this, maybe our Gold Line right over here for Oak Cliff, but really do want to build out further east and then into South Dallas as well, down the Trinity corridor. And we'll figure out some of these other mid-cities for the time being. Right now, mid-cities are really only touched by our main Dallas heavy rail kind of spreading out, radiating, and what we have currently with this Trinity line that kind of cuts east-west through Dallas, Arlington, and Fort Worth. Trinity, three cities, DFW, with that A squeezed in between. But what might make sense is really just kind of take a look at this through the middle here. I know that I had referenced a map for myself. I might take a quick pause in the stream, reference that map for a little bit, and pop right back in. So give me just a minute. I will be right back. Okay. I think we've got a pretty good idea on what this is going to look like now. Let's jump back in here. We've paused our game. Gonna edit these routes. Turn some of these off for the time being. These will no longer be Trinity. And I think Trinity line will exit or finish right here. Does it have... It does not have a connector, so we will add a crossover here. Build that, go back to our routes, have this end at Fort Worth TMP. Confirm those changes there. So what this will do, maybe we add a cultural district here for some sort of transfer center, because this old corridor is now going to become this orange line that's actually going to cut up through here. So what is that job center? Oh, that's the old Fort Worth Independent School District. That building does not exist anymore. I don't think that's the job hub they think it is. Where are these people going to work? Lockheed. And these people... kind of where we're going. I think we'll only be here, although I think a north-south heavy rail on Beach Street could be interesting. We'd want to add a station here, I think, just to kind of connect it to our existing heavy rail we have going through, but that's actually pretty interesting because I think we're going to follow this road instead of 121 to get out to the airport, so Belknap. which I think eventually turns into like Colleyville or Carrollton Highway, something like that through Grapevine. But take that away. I think there's just a lot more residents through here and some more interesting job hubs along the way versus just this freeway, which isn't really going to be the hub we want it to be. Although if we look at this Old Denton Road, oh, that's 121. No, it's just Old Denton Road. Okay. Yeah, we will take this road, Belknap, through. I think that makes a lot more sense. And we'll have a connector up there to DFW Airport. That's a line that once we get out of Fort Worth, I'm not really comfortable knowing exactly what all these touch points are going to be. So we're going to rely on this map here to kind of follow some of the jobs and whatnot as we make our way into DFW. But let's see if we want to get some of this connected here. Yeah, we're gonna move that cultural district station. What is its ridership currently anyway? 2K. I think we can improve that by pulling it over here. I think we'll do some placement. We're just gonna make it kind of dense. I think that's fine. Okay, so we are going to start deleting several things here. Delete that crossover, delete and delete. And we are going to build a -4 station here. Build one. How low can we go without destroying any of these buildings? I don't know why I'm so hellbent on it being kind of curved. I just don't think I want... You know what? No. It's just going to be right here. And then under this will be the nexus. That Trinity Line station will stay there. Okay, so these will now become cultural no. 8, we're going to build tracks here. Connect that there. Add the crossover. Perfect. And this will build tracks. No. Right up this stretch of road. No, don't go that far. Why is my mouse skipping like that? Curve is too sharp. I'm sure it is. Let's delete this and connect this to whatever we had. All right. Okay. Station. Camp Bowie is littered with stations now, and that's okay. Once we get into downtown, we are going to go deep. But what is the crossroad that we are going to use? Because we're going to have this come up and kind of run along Belknap here, but then we're going to have something north-south to cut down between that here. So maybe Throckmorton or Taylor could be interesting. Maybe Throckmorton between TCC and some of these job buildings here. Now that's going to need to be deep if we're cutting through. But for the time being, that's tracks. That's not right. That's not what we need at all. We have that kind of residential. Where are these people going? What? You know what? No, ma'am. That's crazy. I'll do some light rail connections. I'm not. Should I add something here? Jobs, residents. I don't want to. No, I just kind of want to have it cut from here straight up into there. I think that makes the most sense. There's such tight connections here, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of value. Maybe some of these jobs here. Where are these people coming from? Oh my god, what? Sorry, is this person commuting from Oklahoma? My god. That is up there. Why would you do that to yourself? So maybe I add a Trinity Park station. Something under the river that really kind of crosses both, so then you can go to the park or downtown. Okay, for the time being, this west part of downtown is not going to get served. How maybe they would like to be, or maybe how I would like for them to be, but that's just not going to happen. These folks. You're going to get everything you deserve. We'll give them a station. I think they're also calling this the, like, uptown neighborhood. So yeah, you know what? You get a station. You get a station right here. Some cool art galleries down here too, so this will be just for them. All right, now as we cross the river, we'll do one here along Race Street. After Race, do we want beach? We were talking maybe about a Beach Street light rail. Will these people come down? You know what? If we put a light rail, they will. And for the time being, I'm gonna give them a station. What do we feel about Holton Road? We definitely want one. Do we want it up here? I'm gonna build this here. I think this will be a better place for people to commute to this job center versus over here, where that walk's just a little bit longer. Although there are more residents over here. Taking that away. We're putting it here. Hopefully we will get some good commutes, better commutes there versus kind of what's currently existing. And do we want something in between? People aren't going to take this if we're not building stations. Holton Road. Belknap. As we continue further, where are the jobs, where are the people? Thinking here. Oh, I've minimized my game. That's not what I want to do. Workers. Residents. I'm going to skip 820 and really come in right here. This looks like a good spot. I'm liking these bubbles to the east and to the west. Hopefully these people will commute on my new station that I'm building for them in Alton City or North Richland Hills. I don't know the exact boundaries up here, and I think that's all right. Now, where do we go from here? Because it gets a little sparsely populated as we cut through here. Workers. Residents. We definitely want something here. What is this? Good amount. Hopefully these people will commute. Now through here, where do we want to put? I think something should be through here. That's a big stretch of nothing. Yeah, it might make sense to see where these people are going. But I'm just not seeing both side bubbles like I'd really want to. Kind of like over here. Or even anything quite big as up there. Mid-cities. Okay, let's see where these people are going. Will they be connected to our system ever? I just don't know if right now we're really building in these areas. But we could in the future. 300 people. Okay. For the time being, this stretch of road, I am sorry. They may not be getting much from me. That's kind of a good... Where are these people going? Maybe kind of like something like that, almost along, not quite 114, but I think 114 does kind of go up that way. Okay, this could be interesting for the future as we look at something like this coming diagonally. Maybe up through Arlington, but then, yeah, they'd want to, instead of going in the south part of DFW, they could come in the top and then down. Connect up here with what we have to this station. And then have them transfer there to go in. Okay, that could be what we do in the future. Right now, yeah, like I said, I just don't think these folks are going to get any jobs. Yeah, no, they're not going to get... but that is a massive stretch with nothing. I think that's okay. Then do we want something over here? Where technically is downtown Grapevine? That is on South Main Street. Which is after these freeway connections. Is this South Main? Oh, South Main. So we'll give downtown Grapevine a station. Keep historic Grapevine connected like it is with the current text rail. So they're going to get a subway station there. Then from there to there, it'll curve down here into our DFW kind of hub. We have it between terminals A and B. Which I think is looking, I might just go ahead and quad track all these because that's... Or a light rail. I might just do a light rail and call that quits. Or just a straight shot. Make it unrealistic. I don't know. But first, we need to build these stations out. And I'm going to start over here. Let's start out actually. What does this cost? Just the stations. 1 billion. Okay. Build tracks. Oh yeah, we've already got that connected. We've already not got that connected. So this is where we're going to need to go deep. And I'm like, we're going to need to go crazy deep these buildings. $16, is that? Some of these are okay, some of these are not. There we go. Then we'll pop it back up to 4 meters. No. Perfect. Kind of. Alright, that got a little dicey. Let's connect this to our new station up here. And then how angled do we need to get? Oh, that's actually a pretty straight shot. Can we get it done? We can. Perfect. I love that. Again, playing sandbox mode, but we don't want to destroy any buildings. Trying to get this done with as little destruction as possible in our fantasy build of the DFW region. Again, focusing on Fort Worth right now, getting Fort Worth connected up to DFW Airport. That'll be a really huge mover of people, and I think it'll really kind of move that needle for us closer to that 5% of the region taking transit, which is what we're working on right now. I think getting this kind of western part of the Metroplex connected up to DFW Airport will just, yeah, be huge for moving that needle closer to 5%. Got that connected. See, some of these roads, huge boulevards, make it very easy for straight shots. Although I haven't played cities like New York or Chicago where there's kind of stronger gridded systems with all the buildings kind of in the way. You know, they're still very dense metro areas. I don't know if it's this easy just to kind of whoop, click to lay tracks down like it is in this level, just because of how straight and flat all these roads are. This is that big stretch where we don't have station for a while. Taking out my entire monitor, I could probably just zoom out. But I've not done that. So instead of zooming out, we're doing a lot of clicking and dragging, clicking and dragging. That station's coming up so soon. And can we straight shot it without? Not quite. But we're close. There we go. From there to downtown. Grapevine. Boom. And can we get away with that? We can. Perfection. This is where we're going to have to play around with depth a little bit. I forget exactly how deep we buried these red line tracks. Now let's click to here. and see what this is looking like. Oh. That was actually very easy. Okay, great. Oh, we're not gonna wanna... No. Who put that building there? Get that connected, come in. And the way that this quad track station is going to work is we'll have to have one connect on the outermost, on the west and the east side, and then down here we'll just do a little single track loop. I've seen good connectors that way. Kind of finish off these quad tracks, kind of similar to what we have on the other side of this red line. Before I finish that out to show you what I mean, and we were able to do it in a different way for this red line. Red line got complicated because we had our Trinity station coming in. Ours, I think we can just do a really simple boop boop to connect. This, we had some depth issues with this Trinity line. It kind of had to come out, go deep, come back up, and come around for that connection. But should be able to see that this should be much easier up here. Seen it online. Let's see how actually hard and or difficult that is. We will move to single track connections. It's down, down, up, up. Oh no. See, this is where we're going to run into some issues there. Can we do this differently? I think we can. Oh no. No, that just kind of is what it is. This... No, why would it ever connect like that? That's crazy. What is happening? No. Nothing needs to be curving around like that. Okay. Let's connect this. That's that little boop boop instead of a crossover that we will use for this line. And then here should just... Why would you ever do that? That's... There we go. Okay, this new line with all of our stations. What is this going to cost us? $3 billion to connect Fort Worth to DFW Airport. Gonna want to build those blueprints. So we've got our tracks laid. Let's go to the connections and make sure all of this is connected up like we really want. I think it makes the most sense to start with Trinity. You know, let's rename this Cultural District. This is going to be a station grouping, Cultural District. We zoom out. Great, white dot. Which means, well, they're all white dots because they don't have tracks on them. But that will be Cultural District, station grouping. This will be Linwood, West 7th. Some sort of like 5 points. What are we going to call this? It's going to be West 7th. Does the street continue on? Yes, but this is West 7th. Let's be real. Throckmorton. Let's do TCC/Throckmorton. No, just Throckmorton. Because it's one of TCC's campuses. Let's just do Throckmorton, keep it simple. A little bit more inclusive, because it's also the courthouse. We could name this a lot of things. Trinity Bluff. This is, I think, where, yeah, this is where the city was founded. That could be interesting. Put Throckmorton for the time being. That's what it's going to be. This is going to be Uptown, which is not a name that I think that's really caught on, but I believe that this kind of stretch of a road is Trinity Bluff Uptown. Just do a bit of branding. Call that Uptown. Got Race Street over here. Combo there. This one, Broadway. That's not how they spell that. I have no idea. Glenview. I don't know the mid-cities that well. I think this is technically Haltom City getting into Richland Hills. North Richland Hills, I don't know. That's that big stretch without a station. Sorry to the good people of Colleyville, but you don't get one. Let's call this Kimball. We've got downtown Grapevine. And DFW Airport. Great. We have our stations named. Building out a new color. Let's start out with editing this Trinity River, or this Trinity line, adding a stop there. This will be a big transfer point. Well, why would... Oh, because we need both sides. There we go. Dallas Main to Cultural District. Confirm. Let's look at those train frequencies. 12 minutes. Yeah. This is that thing that we keep getting tripped up on. So let's click that. And then check yes there. Then confirm. Cultural. Dallas Main. Confirm. Now with our new line, we're going to connect these end to end to make sure all the connection points are right. Build this new route, keeping this orange. Create route. Now let's edit some of these. This will expand further out west down Camp Bowie, but for the time being, it's going to stop at Brian Irvin. Let's go to these outermost tracks at DFW where this train loops around. You can kind of see that's where we had both of those connection points. And that works. Everything's connected. So now we can get all of these other stations filled in. that huge stretch without a station seems so wrong, but I'm just not seeing the residential pull or job pull to warrant any sort of station there. So they're not getting it. Sorry to those people. I think after this, I'll let this run for a little bit, but that might be it for tonight for me. I will probably want to continue with more Fort Worth stations tomorrow. Great. This is looking good. So from Brian Irvin and DFW in 45 minutes, that's not the best, but given the driving status right now, that's also not completely terrible. Confirm changes. Let's get some trains on this bad boy. We want pretty high frequency. We're going to need to buy so many more of these. Let's just buy that because we want really good frequency. See? At least 6-minute frequency. Spending money like I don't care, and to be quite honest, I don't. Okay, we'll do 6-minute frequency. Air on the side of better. Okay. All right, so this will be our new transfer center for the Trinity River. The purple line that we're looking at building will kind of cut through north-south Meacham, Stockyards, downtown. I do want to connect this Throckmorton to our existing T&P station. Cut down, it'll loop over maybe on Pennsylvania around the medical district. I don't know if I want something on Pennsylvania Avenue, maybe closer to Harris, and then one by Children's on 8th Avenue, another on Baylor, or if I do some sort of like deep underground cut, have it just be right in the middle to really kind of get the best of both. One here, but I mean, JPS, I mean, maybe some sort of connector down there. Not entirely sure, but that purple line's going to definitely connect these two. I might just start with this connection here down to the hospitals, and it'll make its way over to TCU. Aptly named the purple line for the TCU Frogs. So after that, I don't know exactly where that line's going to go. It could just be a heavy rail, small little connector there. As far as jobs, not seeing a lot of other else, but obviously when we go into residential, down here could be pretty interesting. Is that Overton Ridge? Yeah. So yeah, after TCU, not exactly sure where that will kind of follow along. Maybe Granbury Road. There's that existing rail corridor, but like in real life, not anything passenger, but that could be interesting, just to kind of follow that route. There's a lot of folks down here. I'm sure these people are commuting all over the Metroplex. Yeah, see. Yeah, I think they'd take this, pop on up to downtown, transfer over, and then we can get a lot of these people up connected for anyone who kind of goes to Dallas or any of those other places. And again, this kind of east-west diagonal, maybe again something from Arlington coming up and connecting here and continuing on, could kind of pull in some of these South Lake people onto this orange line if they need to go into downtown Fort Worth or into DFW or Dallas. I think that's just a little bit interesting to kind of take a look at as well. So let's let this run for a little bit. We've done I should have kept these curves on their respective sides, east and west, but it is what it is. I really should clean that up. You know, if I end up doing more quad tracks instead of a light rail, I might just clean all of this up next time. We'll let it run as is. Let's play, watch it for a little bit, get rid of some of this, and look at our station ridership. Let's kind of watch this grow and see. Up to 6K already at DFW. Again, really was, I think when we started tonight, it was something closer to like 4,000. Then again, I imagine this will be a pretty big transfer center. We'll see how these kind of build up together. A lot of commuters going pretty far down here. That would be a trek to make on foot for this station, but our folks are doing it. Couple increased dots over here. We're only at day 16. I can't remember exactly where we started when this was running, but you know, it's also not the busier part of the Metroplex. I mean, these grow way faster as we kind of hit play and let them go, but I definitely see just this number, yeah. Continuing to rise there. DFW is kind of making its way up the range, and Orange makes it on the leaderboard because of it. Yeah, some of these existing stations still have decent ridership. It's not quite what I thought it would be, but it's slowly making its way to 1K. Okay. $10K. See, that's all. We just needed to get that connection. I knew that at least this station would really pop off once we had that connection there for the airport and jobs. With that, we've been auto-saving, but I'm going to make sure I'm overwriting this game right here. We went from 69 stations to 88 today. Did some pretty good work. I'm happy with it. Let this play out as I say my goodbyes. Thank you so much for joining. Playing Subway Builder in the DFW area. Got some pretty good connections over here in Dallas, added to our red line, further expanded this green line up, and got Fort Worth connected to DFW Airport. I think tomorrow or the next time I stream, I will kind of at least build the bare bones of this kind of purple line. What I'm thinking right now, bare bones, is at least kind of like this yellow line where I'm going to get the minimum structure of it kind of done and then figure out exactly what I want to do with the rest of the city as far as heavy rail. I actually might rely more on light rail over here. Probably makes more sense. But thank you so much for joining. I've had a lot of fun tonight. I hope you had too. Thanks for joining. Bye.